Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Give me 1 second. Let me get this camera right. Not feeling great. Gonna get to the live chats in a second. Gonna wait a couple seconds for everybody, or for a couple more people to come in. Not feeling great right now. I'm sick again. So it's gonna be a shorter stream than usual. I only have one story prepared. This was a story that I wanted to add to the stream last week, but I didn't. And it was requested by two regulars of the show. So can anybody let me know how the audio is in the chat? Anything needs to be fixed before I get into before I get into our only story. Jared R, I see you in the chat. I'm glad you're in the live stream. Yes, it has been a while since I've seen you in the live chat. Glad you're here. Will Pilgrim. Glad you're here too. Bram Williamson. I'm not sure if I've seen you in the live chat. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so let me just get into this story. All right, so this is sort of a follow up on a segment I did a couple weeks ago, where I covered Kyle Kulinski basically repeating the talking points of the military industrial complex when it comes to Ukraine. Just to and the video's up on my channel if you guys want to take a look at that. But basically, at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Kyle there was basically no distinction between Kyle, the mainstream media, and the propaganda coming from the neocons and the war machine. He supported the U.S. arming Ukraine. He supported the economic warfare and sanctions that we put on Russia, and of course he tried to qualify it with these things that really were meaningless. Because at the end of the day, Joe Biden isn't looking at where Kyle Kulinski wants to draw the line when it comes to arming Ukraine. No, the Biden administration and the defense contractors wanted to arm Ukraine. So did Kyle Kulinski. They wanted to sanction the shit out of Russia. So did Kyle Kulinski. And neither of those things have worked well for anybody outside of the war machine, military-industrial complex, and the fossil fuel industry. Nonetheless, here we are. Kyle Kulinski did a segment on a CBS report that went into detail about how only 30% of the billions of dollars in weapons that we've sent to Ukraine actually is going where they're supposed to go. So that means we're just dumping billions of dollars into Ukraine, of weapons into Ukraine. And it's a free-for-all for black market trade and extremists, like the literal Nazis in their government and in the military. So obviously that is not a great scenario. People who followed my show, people who follow these endless wars that have been going on for however many decades, the story's always the same. When we dump weapons into a conflict, and it makes the situation worse, undoubtedly. So that just made it all the more bizarre that at the beginning of this conflict, there were certain people trying to act as if this was going to be an exception to that rule, and arming Ukraine was in any way a good idea. So I have the clip, this first clip from Kyle, and then I have a couple things to say, and then I have another clip to break down for you all. So just give me 1 second. And let me know in the chat how the audio is for the video. If I need to fix anything, if it's too low, if there's an echo or anything like that, just let me know in the chat, and I will get that straight with the video.
And I was surprised when I saw originally the trailer, because I was like, whoa, this kind of bucks the narrative that the entire media is going with about Russia and Ukraine. That, you know, these packages are viewed as absolutely necessary to defend democracy and freedom and go after the authoritarian menace that is Russia. But now, look, I lost count. What have we armed Ukraine and given them money and weapons 12 separate times? And every other week you look at the news and there's another time that we're arming them, where, you know, I talked to my mom, who's the epitome of a normie voter. And originally she was like, yeah, I get it. Let them defend themselves. And I agreed with that too. But then by the time we got to package number 5, 6, 7, 8 and more, everybody's rolling their eyes and I'm like, what? We got homeless people in this country and you're on like the 14th package or whatever, giving weapons to Ukraine. Well, now we know, and this was something, everybody was sounding the alarms about this on the left early on. And again, my position was, hey, I get, send them a round of weapons to defend themselves. I totally understand that. But by the time we got to package number 3 or 4, I was like, what?
Mic was muted, but I'm glad I caught that. All right, so one of the things that really stood out to me in that clip was how he was basically surprised by the CBS report because it bucks the mainstream narrative. And this is very telling. This tells a lot about Kyle's thought process and how he gets information to do his show. Because that shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody that this was, that the weapons were being used in nefarious ways. That shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. But according to Kyle and some of the older people in in new media, it's not real unless you see it in mainstream media. So there could have been a bunch of independent sources and critics of our involvement in Ukraine from the left, smaller people, independent channels who obviously aren't mainstream media outlets, but provide accurate information, well-sourced information. Those people, a lot of the times, they don't even exist to Kyle Kulinski. He's very lazy in the way that he does his show, as in, like I said, he goes through whatever the mainstream media news articles are for whatever given topic it is, and then he just sprinkles in a little something on top of it. So he's really, it's funny because these are people who have such bombastic and such disgust for corporate media and mainstream media, because they know what it is and how it's really just a propaganda tool to advance corporate agenda and corporate power. They know this, but yet all the information that they use, everything that they cite on their show is, and the quotes verbatim, come from these corporate media outlets whose job it is to lie to the public, like I said, to advance corporate agenda. So this is an example of that, because it sounds like he was caught off guard until CBS. He says it bucks the mainstream media narrative that giving these weapons to Ukraine is necessary and it's to defend freedom and democracy. That's what the mainstream media narrative is. But wait, wasn't that exactly what you were saying? Wasn't that the exact reasons why you supported arming Ukraine? So, by your own admission, you, as somebody who's been making anti-imperialist content since the Bush administration, way longer than I've been doing this, you should know better. But you're going to come out and say that, or admit that you were in lockstep, and there was, like I said, no distinction between you and the bullshit that the mainstream media, the same tired ass, defending freedom and democracy narrative that the mainstream media pushes to manufacture consent for war. You agreed to that. That's why you supported giving weapons to Ukraine to defend, so that they could defend themselves, and freedom and democracy, and standing up to the bad guys and all that other flowery bullshit rhetoric. You believed that, and then you went out to your audience of almost 1 million subscribers and try to convince them that that was the right position to take on this issue of the Ukraine war. So I have another clip. Oh, and the other thing I want to talk about is, so he mentions his mom is a normie Democrat, and her position on Ukraine was, oh, let's arm Ukraine. What's wrong with that? Let them defend themselves. And then he says, oh, my position was the same thing. Arm Ukraine, let them defend themselves. So again, you have been making anti-imperialist content for, I don't even know how long at this point, 16 years at this point, and at least. And, or around 16 years. And your analysis of the next new hottest war for the military-industrial complex to cash out on, your analysis is the same as somebody who doesn't follow politics at all, who isn't familiar with the military-industrial complex at all, and isn't rooted, their ideology isn't rooted in any sort of anti-imperialist, anti-interventionist foreign policy. They just go by whatever mainstream media tells them. And again, you, somebody who's supposed to know better, agrees with them. Agrees with the person who has no context of what the U.S. actually does when they get involved in military conflicts. So let me show you the next clip.
And I was surprised when I saw originally the trailer, because I was like, whoa, this kind of bucks the narrative that the entire media is going with about Russia and Ukraine. That, you know, these packages are viewed as absolutely necessary to defend.
Sorry, that was the same clip. Let me show you the next one.
And the warning was, every other time in American history where we flood weapons somewhere, it always ends up in the wrong hands. I mean, Reagan and the Mujahideen is a good example. In Syria, when we armed moderate rebels, well, a lot of those weapons went to the hands of al-Nusra Front, which is a branch of al-Qaeda. So this happens time and time again. And the warning was, hey, in Ukraine, this might end up in the hands of the Azov Battalion, who are card-carrying neo-Nazis. And by the way, they're open about that fact. They're officially part of the Ukrainian National Guard, and they're neo-Nazis. Now, they say, oh, it's only a small percentage, but I don't know. Any percentage seems kind of bad to me. Now, I'm not making that point as like a propaganda point, because there are also far-right elements in the Russian military. And I don't want to, downplay that fact. But the point is, we are arming the Ukrainian ones, and that's a problem, right? So anyway,
All right, so that second clip just makes everything even more bizarre. Because all of those things he said about the undeniable downsides of whenever the U.S. gets involved in a conflict and starts arming a side in a conflict, or maybe even both sides of a conflict. All those things, those downsides, were true before the war in Ukraine started, but yet you still supported giving weapons to Ukraine. All those things about us, those examples he gave about previous conflicts, where we get involved in arming the Mujahideen and all those other those examples that he gave, all those things were true before Ukraine, and which is why people like myself and many others in this space were against arming them to begin with, because, like I said, it's not even like a 50-50. Oh, are we arming Ukraine? Is it going to be, are we arming a side in a conflict? Is it going to be good or bad? It is always bad. It is always bad. Every time we arm somebody, it's head choppers, it's extremists, it's corrupt politicians, it's military dictatorships, it's people who do genocide. That's who the U.S. arms every fucking time we get involved in a conflict. So, I for the life of me, can't understand why anybody would think this war in Ukraine would have been any different. I don't get it. It completely contradicts his whatever logic he had in supporting it. And like I said, it wasn't based off of new information. He didn't just give you some new information that we just learned about in that clip. Like I said, all that shit was true before the war in Ukraine. And this is one of the reasons why I think the older channels in new media have such disdain for this new era of independent media and new media, because in another time, if this was 2012, 2014, we would have let that, not we would have let that shit slide, but there would have been nobody to call that shit out. There would have been absolutely nobody to say, hey, you are allegedly anti-imperialist, but you are in lockstep with the military-industrial complex on this very crucial, consequential conflict that might lead to a literal World War III. You're repeating the same talking points as the war machine. Nobody would have said anything about that if it was back in 2014, 2015. Nobody would have said anything about that. He would have come out and done his neocon propaganda to his audience of people who are mostly identify as being on the left. He would have made it seem like this is the approved left-wing position. And like I said, there would have been absolutely no pushback. Even though this deserves incredible pushback. Because, and I'm not saying that all of this, the reason why this war has escalated the way it has is because Kyle Kulinski. But one of the reasons why these wars go unchallenged is because the left is not unified in anti-war positions. And it does not help when the biggest people with the biggest platforms who identify as being on the left, at the start of a war, when people are at the most looking for information and trying to get context about the situation. It doesn't help when you have people like Kyle Kulinski coming out here and telling you, everything they're saying, well, not everything. I'm not going to strawman and say everything they're saying on mainstream media he agreed with. But there was, like I said before, in a lot of ways, these people play the good cop for the establishment. They might change the rhetoric a little bit and make it more appealing to the left. But at the end, their end goal is the same shit on a lot of important issues. The military-industrial complex wanted to arm the shit out of Ukraine, wanted to dump billions of dollars of weapons into Ukraine, so did Kyle Kulinski. They wanted to sanction the shit out of Russia, so did Kyle Kulinski. And he made that case to his audience. It's as if, it's hard to draw a direct parallel because we're only a couple months into this war. We don't know how bad it's going to get and what it's going to look like years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. But this almost comes across as bad as people supporting like the Iraq War or supporting the U.S. intervention in Afghanistan, or Yemen, or wherever the fuck else, Syria, and then just changing their mind about it later. And that's fine for regular people who are uninformed on the topic. But again, you're a commentator. You're somebody who does this for a living, and if you and again call yourself anti-imperialist, and if you come out and you like cheerleading the U.S. occupation in Afghanistan, and you're like, oh yeah, they're doing a great job over there, or the war in Yemen, oh yeah, let's give those weapons to Saudi Arabia, or Afghan or Iraq, wherever else, you have to answer for that. You can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, like try to sweep it all under the rug and act like it's no big deal. You know, I did support giving these weapons to Ukraine, even though we all know how it turns out in every other conflict. But I don't feel like that anymore, and we're just gonna wash our hands of this, and we're never going to really actually address how it is you even came to that position in the first place. But that's my take on this. Yeah, that's my take on this thing, and it really just comes across as I don't like to just use like these personal. I don't want to call him attacks, but he's just really comes off as not that bright, and also just incredibly lazy with the way he sources and finds information for his show, which is why on so many different issues, there is not much of a distinction between what he is saying on his show and what corporate media is saying. All right, so let me just go to the chat. Whew. I made it through that one. All right, that is not working. Let me go look at the chat this way. All right. Where Pilgrim says a day late and a dollar short. That's really, that is the perfect description of these old heads in new media. A day late and a dollar short on every fucking issue. And that's if they even get there. That's if they even get to the right place. And as is the case in media, it's very easy to get the wrong information out to a bunch of people, and it's even harder to get the correction out to people because even less people are going to see it. So, yeah, they laid in a dollar short. Screw Google says living in his sellout bubble inside his circus tent. Boy Pilgrim, oh shit. Where Pilgrim says the meanest baddies get funded because they fight the hardest. Yeah. And they will do literally anything that the CIA wants. They need some head choppers in the country. All right, let's get some weapons to the head choppers. They have no problem doing genocide to oppress the population so we could advance our corporate agenda in the country. Let's do it. Lewis in Hyrule. Kyle has had multiple mask off moments. Thank you, Dontel, for being an actual freedom fighter. Cheers from Seattle. Thank you. I appreciate that comment. And yes, he has had several revealing moments and mask off moments, like COVID, and like I said, and almost no distinction between what he was saying in corporate media. Ukraine. The we need to be nicer to politicians that are selling us out. Like he is just not as rabidly anti-establishment as he led people to believe. Richard Thunder says commentators commenting with zero knowledge of the situation apart from what they saw on CNN. Yeah, that's you can tell that's how a lot of these people operate. Kyle Kulinski, Breaking Points. That's why they use so much quotes. Like I always thought that was so cringe, and that is if you followed my channel for a while, you know that I don't just come out here and read mainstream media articles and then try to add my 2 cents in after. Because, like I said, you're just repeating their propaganda, and there's no way you can have a coherent segment while rebutting all the bullshit in the article. So that means you're just going to let some shit slide. And some people in your audience who don't know better, they're going to hear you reading this as if, like, okay, this is like the way it is. So I just always thought it was weird, like the over reliance on what corporate media is saying on any given issue that some people have in this space. West Coast says easily most underrated lefty YouTube channel. Keep going, fam. That is the goal. We will keep going. Screw Google says the thing with Kyle is he lost all credibility years ago, and going on Joe Rogan was his downfall, in my opinion. He hung out with Joe and said to himself, I want this kind of world. Too bad Kyle can only do that by playing defense. I don't know if all of his shitty content or the shitty direction that his show has gone in is exclusively because he went on Joe Rogan. I will admit, he has give me 1 second. But yeah, he has been a whole lot less willing to buck mainstream media orthodoxy and narrative, definitely on important issues. Like I said, I don't know if that's because he went on Joe Rogan, but it's definitely a trend on his show. Jared R. I mean, it's the same propaganda every time, so it's mind blowing that people still fall for it. That's that. Like, I need an explanation for this. Again, somebody who's been making anti-imperialist content for 10 plus years. You ain't up on game yet. You don't know the bullshit yet. But 1,000 or 999 conflicts that the U.S. has got involved in or started and then escalated and made worse by dumping weapons. And you think this 1,000th conflict, this might be the one time we get involved and we are just helping the good guys and we're fighting the bad guys, and it's as simple as that. I know my impression of his intelligence is very low, but still I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around how you can really be that dumb and do this for a living. It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you're being dumb on purpose. But I'm not getting the dumb on purpose vibe. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Kyle fell off hard after his boy Bernie took the L a second time. Him and his crew never adjusted to the era we're in now. Yeah, like they're all stuck in like 2016, 2017, and the entire political landscape has just changed completely. Electoralism, that's dead. That is dead. And that's all they got. That's That's all they got in their front pocket, and that's all they got in their back pocket. So, and they wonder why. It's so funny to me because, of course, I know how the YouTube algorithm is working against independent news content creators. I know that, but at the same time, it's so weird to me that he won't acknowledge that the reason why he's losing subscribers or why he's not getting subscribers, like, it's not even a possibility in his mind that people are like his content is just shitty. Like, that's not even a possibility, and I just think that's pretty funny. Jared R says Kyle rage quitting on Katie Halper's show. That time when people were criticizing the squad was when I realized he lost the plot. I think I know what show you're talking about. I want to go see if I can find it. But yeah, that might have been around. I think I know what you're talking about. Weird Pilgrim says this time will be different. These wonder weapons are really wonderful. Richard said he's lost the drive. He doesn't stream because he has nothing to say anymore. He's focused on satisfying a particular audience. Yeah, that's really what it seems like he. And I would never ever want to be that type of content creator. Just fucking lazy, phoning it in, doing bullshit content and bullshit stories and videos that nobody gives a shit about. Like if you look at this channel, I mean, fucking endless Trump videos, January 6th, Alex Jones, like that's basically the fucking content and like nobody wants to watch that shit. And I do think it needs to be recognized and pointed out to the audience that there are some people who just do this as their day job. Like they don't even care about this shit anymore. They clock in, they do their job, they clock out, and whether anything changes, they really don't give a shit. Like I said, they're just punching a time clock at this point. And yes, I just think that's something that the audience should be aware of when they're watching content. All right, y'all. If y'all have anything else you want to add, please do it in the live chat. I might have to get off this live stream. Like I said, I'm not feeling good. I'm about to fall the fuck out. I will try to do a live stream again tomorrow. Hopefully I'm feeling better. What was I going to say? Oh, if you want to contribute, the links are in the description box of this video. Also, Cash App is pinned in the live chat. So I have links to PayPal, Cash App, GoFundMe, Patreon, all those ways to help support the show if you can. And let me know, because I've never done a live stream where I only did one video or only did one segment. So let me know if you want me to like cut out all the extra shit and upload the segment by itself, like I would normally upload a single segment, or do you want me to just add timestamps to this live stream so you could just like get right to the story? Let me know in the chat before we end the stream. Name is Mike. Great to see you, but looks like I got here in the end. Yes, Mike, unfortunately, this is the end of the live stream. Like I said, I'll try to be back again tomorrow. You could follow the channel on Twitter, and I'll try to make an announcement ahead of time about the exact time I'm going to go live. The link to my Twitter is in the About page of the YouTube channel. Might also be in the description box of this video. Jared R says, I'm not picky. Where Pilgrim says, shorter clips are easier to share. Richard Thunder says, cut segments are more shareable. All right, I'll do that. It was just the only reason why I was hesitating on doing that is because if I cut the segment out of this, let me see how long I've been going live. If I cut the segment out of this live stream, it might be like 10 minutes shorter than the live stream, and the title might be identical. So like I don't know if people would even want to click on that. Like it'd be just confusing. But we did take a vote on this. More people are saying to cut the segments, make it more shareable. So that is what I will do. Screw Google says, peace, comrades. I will hopefully see you back again tomorrow. Screw Google. Name is Mike. Don't bother cutting it at this point. I hear you. But the idea that it is more shareable is very true. So fuck it, I'll do it. Unless I get a bunch of other comments telling me just don't bother. Word Pilgrim says in this instance, I don't think you need to cut this one as it was a single subject. Okay, I'll take that into consideration. Wait, Pilgrim says perfect thumbnail of Kyle too. That stupid surprise face. Who sold out? Me. Yeah, I love that. Like I used that thumbnail a couple times when I've made videos about Kyle. I love that thumbnail. But like I said, I'm gonna end the stream. Hopefully, see you all tomorrow. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate all that. Like I said, if you can contribute to the show, I'd greatly appreciate this. So I can make more content for you all. All right, so I'll see you all soon.